AITA for telling my girlfriend to live with the decision she made. Me and my GF, Autumn, fake name obviously, had our child 8 months ago. We were college students before the baby and are college students now. We weren't and still aren't rich, but before the baby we were relatively comfortable. We had to struggle a few times but we could pay our bills on time, and put food on the table. We didn't have to panic at the end of every month, basically. Also, I used protection. When we found out Autumn was pregnant, she seriously considered whether or not she wanted an abortion. She would always speak to me about it, but wouldn't really care for my opinion any time I tried to offer it. I was okay with that, because it's her body and she should choose what she wants. When she finally did ask however, I gave her my honest opinion. I told her that I love her and will support whatever decision she makes, but we simply don't have any money to support a baby. And if she chooses to have the baby, we'll be struggling badly. Fast forward a few months later and she's permanently decided she wants to keep the baby. I supported her, obviously. It's now been 8 months and 2 days since the birth of my daughter. The problem here is that, every other day she complains and lets it be known she wouldn't have chose to have our baby if she knew we would be in such a financial situation. Finally, after 8 months, I got fed up. I told her the facts are you chose to have a baby, and you're not gonna say every day how you regret having her. Be a grown up and live with the decision you made. She responded by telling me how I chose to have a baby with her too and how I need to support her. Basically she started yelling and I just took our daughter and left. It's been a few days since this happened, and she has said multiple times she doesn't think she's wrong. I really just want a third opinion. AITA? Info: are you seeking any sort of assistance for the baby? In the US, you would likely qualify for WIC/food stamps/utility assistance and other benefits. Yes, exactly this. If you all are in the US and you haven't applied for this stuff yet, you should really look into it. It could help you out a lot financially and it could help get rid of the financial tension between you as a couple. NTA, because you don't need to support her. You are both equally responsible for providing for your family. You are right, she made the decision to continue with the pregnancy. It was always going to be hard, for several years, because of where you are in your lives. You're both in college, and you're both responsible for raising a child with limited funds. If she is frustrated over finances, even though you are getting by, then she should be asking to have a conversation about that. Conversation isn't that it's your job to provide for her though. She can raise whether you should both seek a day or two of work, if this is possible. She could raise that she's concerned that you don't have savings, as something could happen. There are many reasonable things to raise, but complaining that she made a mistake by having a baby is not helpful in any way. There is no taking it back now, so she does need to get over that, and she needs to focus on how you all are going to proceed going forwards. Think it's a good idea to figure out how much she's struggling though. Maybe she needs counseling to deal with her emotions, as it's not healthy for her, or your family, if she gets more and more resentful of the situation. Discussing and planning how things will go over the next few years, or how you would like them to go, would be good too. Having goals to work towards is helpful, and time frames of when you hope to do things. Financial planning will obviously be important, as you do have a child to raise. I hope she is willing to talk to you, as her attitude does need to be addressed, before it impacts your child. Questions: support her as in emotionally? At NTA, my best guess was she meant emotionally, but we haven't spoke too much in the last day. NTA, I don't care whether it's hard having the kid or not. Parents need to lose the habit of saying they regret having their kids. Kids never need to hear their parents say that, and if parents say it every day, it's only a matter of time before they say it in front of the kid. She's 8 months old now, but she is learning to understand language. She understands tone now. Pretty soon she'll understand words and be saying words herself. Do you and your girlfriend want her to know from a young age what a burden she is? Time to stop saying she was a mistake and time to stop thinking of her that way. Both of you need to accept the decision you made or decide if your child would be better off if you gave her up for adoption so she can start over with people who would love her and be glad to have her. AITA for refusing to replenish a college trust for my deceased husband's affair child. Throwaway account. I, 52F, am in an unusual situation and need an outside perspective but want to maintain my anonymity. 18 years ago it was revealed, at my husband's funeral, he had a pregnant mistress, 40F. Obviously I didn't just take the woman's word for it and stated that she wouldn't get a cent until there was a DNA test. When it was proven true I was devastated but agreed to set up a trust for the child for college and agreed to let them live in one of my rental properties in a good area rent-free until her child was 18. She had to pay for utilities. She agreed and I made it clear that I wasn't going to do anything else for her or the child. I also made it clear that I wouldn't take on the responsibility of fostering a relationship between our children and that it would be my husband's side of the family's job. Fast forward 12 years and the mistress child got sick and needed medical treatment. She didn't have enough money for what insurance wouldn't cover and reached out to me for support. I reminded her what our original agreement was and to borrow money from relatives for assistance. She said her credit wasn't good enough for a loan at the time and she didn't have anyone who she could borrow the money from. When I wasn't budging she got upset and accused me of being a monster for not helping a child in need. I reminded her that I already helped her child by setting up a college trust but she could use some of that money for the costs if she really needed it. She agreed and her child pulled through. Now that the child is 18 and intending to go to college in the fall of 2021, the mistress reached out to me about the trust and was upset when she found out that the amount was much less than what was originally agreed upon. I reminded her it was less because some of the money was used for the medical bills and that I never said I would put the money back in. I also informed her that I was going to start charging her rent the following year and she would need to pay or move out. I didn't care that she was upset because I was always straightforward about the situation, but now my Mill and Sil are starting to say that it's unfair to the child. I don't see it that way because the mistress had at least 6 more years to figure something out. So AITA, edit. Thank you so much for giving out your opinions and advice so far. However, I do see some reoccurring comments and questions, so I wanted to give more info just in case it changes your stance. 1. I am an American and live in the United States. 2. My husband and I were in our 30s and he died in an accident, so there was no will. We were strong middle class but not rich. My husband a life insurance policy that named me as the primary beneficiary and then our children, a house that wasn't paid off yet, $20,000 worth of his own savings, and 2 cars that was both in our names but also wasn't paid off at the time of his death. His mistress could have sued but it wouldn't have been much. 3. The rental property that I let her stay in was an inheritance from my side of the family that was solely in my name, so my husband had no legal ownership of at the time of his death. 4. My Mill and Sil don't know the full details but they know I have enough money to the point where I could pay for the mistress child to go to a decent 4-year school and not miss it, even during this pandemic. They on the other hand can't. Edit 2. Also forgot to mention that because my husband died in an accident that I got some money for that too. She was hoping for a free ride. No judge would entertain her if she tried anything legal. 18 years of free rent plus college money that she pulled from before and didn't replenish. She couldn't save money or fix her credit after 18 years of no rent. You fulfilled your agreement. You're good. Thinking about that for a moment, even if she was living at the poverty line, only needing to pay utilities and food for almost 2 decades, it's laughable it entered her mind to ask AITA for anything further. I'm sure this discovery 18 years ago was devastating, but you, quite honorably, put your emotions aside for the sake and betterment of your husband's child, with conditions. You also responded firmly, but not unkindly, when confronted with additional requests in the past. At 18, this child is an adult, and you have no obligation, nor had you any initially, but for many reasons chose otherwise, to provide anything other than a polite refusal. Your husband is long dead, his estate is settled, and they have no claims here. NTA. Holy smokes. That lady is lucky she's had you to mooch off of all these years. Do what you wanna do. You already did what was right, and way more than that. Terrible situation, sorry op. NTA, 1000% NTA. You are a far nicer person than I would be upon finding out a grave betrayal. Your husband had an affair and you had to find out at his funeral. You stepped up. 18 years of rent. That is more than enough to cover the cost of any child support that your husband would have paid. On top of you had a trust for college for the child. My thoughts are this. 1. In 18 years what did this woman do with her life? She was rent-free. Why after using the money in the trust did she not replace it? What was she doing with her money, when not having to pay rent, that she was so strapped? Why did she expect that you would be a white knight and step in financially? You were clear as far as it sounds to me you weren't going to give her any more than you had, and when you offered it as a solution she accepted. That put that onus on her. 2. You shouldn't give a fuck about what his family thinks. Why didn't they help this child when they were sick? Why aren't they offering to help this child now? It was the Mills' son that fucked around. It is not your burden. Take advice given here before. Tell her you are more related to this child than I am. I have met obligations for financial assistance that I did not even have to meet legally. Sleep well at night. You helped this kid, which to me shows you must have really loved your husband to take care of his affair child. I honestly would go no contact with them and maybe look at getting a property management company to tend your properties so you don't have to interact with the mother any further and don't have to hear excuses or guilt when it comes time to start having to pay up for rent. AITA for using my future mother-in-law's own line on her. I, 28F, and my fiancé, 28 meters, have been together 9 years, since sophomore year of college, engaged since October 2019. My future Mill, 54F, has 3 sons, of which my fiancé is the oldest. She is very much into being matriarch and hates the idea of her little babies growing up and moving on with their lives. She cried for days when me and fiancé, then boyfriend, moved into an apartment together after graduating college and asked fiancé if I forced him to do it. I was never invited to my future in-laws' home for Thanksgiving or Christmas because that was for family only. My fiancé threw down to have me invited in 2019 after we got engaged. I was excluded from photos because those were for family only and I was only a fiancé, not a wife. My future brother-in-law's girlfriend still gets the same treatment. Mill recently caught wind, from fiancé, of my plans to go wedding dress shopping with my mom, sister, and cousin. She assumed she was invited and called me to ask what day and time. I said, oh no, it will just be me, mom, sister, and cousin. She was clearly upset and asked why can't I come. I said, oh, it's for family only, I am sure you understand. She sputtered something about having to go and hung up. She later whined to fiancé about how I was being mean, excluding her from his experience since she has no daughters. Fiancé and his brother with a girlfriend thought it was hilarious, as did the girlfriend, and love that I turned the tables on her in a way she can't protest against without being marked as a hypocrite. Fiancé's youngest brother thinks I'm being mean to her for no reason and I should be considerate of the fact she has no daughters and let her share this experience. I don't want her there because I want to enjoy with the loved ones, and I frankly don't want to include someone in an experience like that who made a point of excluding me. So Reddit, AITA, edit. Wow, thanks so much for the support everyone. To answer some questions, the first 2 years we dated I had no desire in going to the in-laws for the holidays. Third year was my senior year in college and the first time my fiancé wanted me to come, she said no, but hey, we didn't fight it. Subsequent years fiancé was getting more and more worked up, but I told him not to rock the boat. I am very level-headed and calm and I know better than to enter into open conflict with a crazy person. He's going to shut her down if she keeps whining. Edit 2, well, she called my mom and asked if she could come, smiley face. My mom said that was not her decision, and to ask me. She seemed to think my mother could command me to invite her, probably because she operates that way. She then told fiancé to give me a list of rules for my dress, which include, no strapless, no halter, no sweetheart neckline, not too tight, and not too much cleavage. She wants me to look classy. I am an accountant at a global accounting firm, yet she somehow thinks I'm going to embarrass her by not looking classy. Fiancé sent her a text, mom, you're smothering us. This is none of your business, so stop it. She's called him 9 times in the last hour since she got that text.